I give the floor to the representative of the Syrian Arab Republic.
شكرا سيدة رئيسة.
Thank you, Madam President. Our region, for almost a year, continues to face the risk of the Israeli occupation's escalation of its crimes against the Palestinian people in Gaza and the West Bank, the continuation of its aggression on the states of the region, including my country, Syria. The Israeli occupation on the 8th of September launched an aerial attack, a blatant attack on rural Hama, killing 18 people, injuring 37 others, and causing material damage in some populated areas and infrastructure, as well as in water, communication, and electricity networks. My country, Syria, holds the Israeli occupation accountable for the repercussions of these blatant attacks. The Israeli occupation would not have continued to commit such barbaric crimes and attacks on the states of the region had it not enjoyed the impunity, and unconditional support provided by the United States and other Western states. Threatening of an implosion in the region, jeopardizing international and regional peace and security. The Syrian Arab Republic stresses its legitimate right to self-defense in line with Article 51 of the Charter. It is determined to recover the occupied Syrian Arab Golan in every way allowed by the international law. Madam President, despite the complicated circumstances facing the region and the major challenges, the Syrian government continues to take every step to improve the humanitarian situation and provide basic services to Syrians to ensure a conducive environment for the return of Syrian refugees and displaced to their cities and towns, and to improve the rate of return. In this vein, the Syrian government adopted a number of decrees and procedures. It continued to improve its administrative, legislative, and institutional infrastructure. The Syrian government also continues its constructive cooperation with the United Nations and humanitarian and development partners, and it is providing them with all the necessary support and facilities, including the necessary permits for cross-border and operations. My country reaffirms that for the UN Syrian collective efforts to succeed, some Western states need to revisit their policies which politicize humanitarian work. They need to stop impeding humanitarian work by withholding funding and imposing political conditions on its provision. This also needs supporting sustainable solutions for those affected, promoting early recovery and livelihood projects, accelerating demining efforts and efforts to address remnants of war, unexploded remnants of war, and it needs donor countries to meet their commitments. The funding of the humanitarian response plan until today, as the year is almost over, has yet to exceed 26%, which is the least among all humanitarian response plans around the world. Madam President, a few days ago, more than 3.7 million students went to 15,000 schools across Syria. In light of challenges and difficulties facing the Syrian government to provide the necessary conditions for their education, children are suffering because of the lack of electricity and heating as winter approaches. This is attributed to the unilateral coercive measures imposed by the United States and the European Union, targeting all basic sectors and human rights, including their major right to education. These measures have directly affected access to equipment and educational material and tools. They thwarted the ability of the Syrian government and its humanitarian partners to rehabilitate schools destroyed by terrorism. They also deprived Syrian students from opportunities to seek international degrees and participate in educational and training programs remotely online. The suffering of Syrian children and students caused by unilateral coercive measures only draws a partial picture of the catastrophic impact of such inhumane and immoral measures which have affected all sides of the daily lives of Syrians. Such illegitimate measures have inflicted grave harm on major vital sectors, including sectors which were stressed by Security Council resolutions on the humanitarian situation that they need support, namely health, water, housing, education, and electricity sectors. My delegation calls once again for the immediate, complete, and unconditional lifting of unilateral coercive measures imposed on the Syrian people. They are a grave violation of international law, the UN Charter, and human rights instruments. They represent a collective punishment on the people. Reports and evidence are clear. We have evidence provided by humanitarian agencies, and this is seen and clear. Everyone who visits Syria can see this clearly. When they try to provide humanitarian or development support. And this was also stressed by UN reports, latest of which was the ESQA report, as well as other reports by special rapporteurs of the Human Rights Council, including Ms. Elena Dohan, the special rapporteur of the Human Rights Council on the negative impact of unilateral coercive measures. Madam President, terrorist groups in northwest Syria continue to impose their dark ideologies. They continue to oppress civilians where they are present, including and especially women and girls. They continue to attack safe cities and towns. In their latest attacks 2 days ago on rural Latakia and Idlib, they used 9 drones, which proves that Kiev has been providing support and drones to terrorist groups with a Western green light by the United States and other Western partners and allies in exchange for sending some of them and their mercenaries to fight in Ukraine and launch attacks against the Russian Federation. We stress our sovereign right to eliminate terrorism in all of its forms, to dry up its sources. We hold the United States and its allies responsible for this situation. They insist on their policies which invest in terrorism, which support their crimes, the crimes of terrorist groups listed by the Security Council against Syrians in their areas of control. They continue to allow such groups to use civilians as human shields. My country warns against such policies and attempts to whitewash such terrorist groups, for they could spread extremism which could threaten the security and stability of Syria, the region, and the world. In conclusion, Madam President, We reaffirm our commitment to a Syrian-led, Syrian-owned political process without any foreign interference in light of the full respect of our sovereignty, unity, and territorial integrity. We stress that we will continue to engage in dialogue and cooperate with the Special Envoy in line with his mandate as a facilitator. We look forward to his success in holding the 9th round of the Constitutional Committee in Baghdad in Iraq. Mr. Peterson spoke about his meeting to be held with the Minister of Foreign Affairs during the high-level week of the General Assembly. We reaffirm the need to end the illegal foreign military presence on Syrian territories, to put an end to every aggression and support for terrorist militias and entities for the looting of our national wealth under the pretext of fighting terrorism and fighting ISIS. We also call for supporting the Syrian government's efforts to re-establish state authority and the rule of law on all our national soil. Thank you, Madam President.
I thank the representative of the Syrian Arab Republic.